Welcome to Channel AMEC, your insight to the Australian visa system. Good day everyone, my name is Carl Young, your online YouTube visa consultant. Are you interested about migrate to Australia? Why don't you consider to subscribe to my channel and turn on the bell on side so once we have all the updates and news, you'll be the first one of getting all the insight. Now, I've received some questions and queries in regards to skill assessment. Now, obviously, as a government body, they cannot control what sort of skilled person actually applies for the visas. So obviously there's so many occupations, so many different type of skill coming from IT, accountants, admin, tradies, plumbers, carpenters, all the way to all the medical, health, and space tech, all these type of people, so engineers and all of that. So obviously a government within one body could not really actually assess everybody. So there has been categorized of different occupations into the codings of the name ENS code. So today's video is all about why are there so many skill assessing authorities, and the answer is obviously I have already answered that, but how would that work, and how these skill assessing authorities, how did they form, and what is their actual aim in doing so, but perhaps only assessing a person's background, or there's more agenda to it. Let's go and have a look. So you may want to do a Google search and basically punch in Home Affairs and space skill occupation list. You should be able to find yourself in this web page. Now it's this page is actually very useful. I've actually recommended many times in my channel to actually utilize this web page, because it actually have just discard all these crap at the top, but it has a search button. They should have a search button right at the top, so it's actually better and more functional in a way. But I think because they're government body, they need to disclaim a lot of things and background at the top there, but obviously I doubt anyone reads it. Anyway, the functionality of this web page is this search engine. It's very good because they actually search every single occupations, and while we search for every single occupation, at the side, at the right hand side of the contents, it will show you which assessing authority for skill assessment purpose you should go. So there's vet assess, there's the CPA for the accountants, vet assess, and there's a trade recognition Australia. As for acupuncturists, you need to go to CMBA, whatever that actually stands for. Advertising manager, go to IML, and every single occupation goes to different type of skill assessing authority. So obviously aeronautical engineer require Engineers Australia to actually assess them. So how did this assessing authority actually form? Let's talk about a little bit about the background history. So I recall back in my day when I actually migrated to Australia, that was almost like 20 plus years ago, a long time ago, there wasn't any assessing authority at all. I don't think there was any. I was back then I graduated as IT. All I need to do is become a member of ACS. They don't really assess anything, and I doubt about any other authorities out there. But so how the government of Australia did with the skill migration purpose is obviously immigration itself could not assess every single occupation out there. There's just so many. There's about 200 300 occupations out there, so they are giving out the rights for these so-called industry bodies. Now, they are not profit organization. They are generally an industry body that actually assist all the members within that industry in Australia. So as you know, an industry body for a particular sector, they are more of a protective aim. By means they wanted to protect their members, protect their rights, and allow and assist the members to become more efficient or effective in a way to do business. So, for example, give me an example. A lot of medical doctors, general practitioners, and all these health and medical specialists. Obviously, there is a medical body. Now, giving an example, for example, dentists. Now, if a dentist, overseas skill experienced dentist, wanted to come to Australia to practice as a dentist, the actual body assessing the dentist's background assessments is actually very, very hard. Why? Because the aim is to protect their current member. So there's a way, obviously, immigration comes into those industry body. They want to get a committees and have a chat and have a discussion forum whether or not this occupation is actually required, needed in Australia. So you will see, for instance, a lot of people from ICT. Now, I recall back years ago, the assessing criteria and guidelines wasn't that hard. Nowadays, as you see the recent video of mine in the channel about ACS, if your background, your qualification and work experiences is not in Australia, they won't really count as much as you can. It's just stupid, isn't it? I mean, ICT, computer stuff, all these coding things, everywhere around the world is the same. Why would somebody graduated from Harvard or MIT in USA assess with a lower grade and lesser work experiences as one who actually graduated within any institution in Australia? It's not fair. But yes, it is not fair, but it is because the background that the assessing authority is an industry body. So where they inherited in a way of how they putting into a criteria for skill assessment is more protective in a way to protect their current members in Australia. And that's the reason. Now, there are so many these kind of skill assessing authority. You may find differences. So for example, if you're an architect, now even if you're a registered, a licensed and experienced architect overseas, and you bring those profiles to be assessed in Australia, you will find very, very complex and very hard to actually get your license and accreditations in Australia. Why? Because they want to protect themselves. So let's come to the end of this video. What can you do about this, and what is the incentive that the government wants? Obviously, government of Australia wants all the visa applicants, all the skilled migrants to come to Australia and study in Australia in a way to actually make the international education sector more profitable. Okay, so as long as you study in Australia, you get that incentive, and your skill assessment will be much easier. For instance, just go back to the architect scenario. If you come to Australia and study Bachelor and Master of Architect combined, you would almost, as long as you graduated, you almost automatically get that skill assessment positive straight away. Now, same thing as for the ICT engineers and the accountants and all the other ones. As long as you study in Australia, you get that incentive. Now, if you're a tradie and you study those courses like cookery or chef, carpenter as well, even if you're very experienced overseas, you still get that very tough skill assessing criteria. But if you study in Australia, you don't need to do that as long as you need to go through employer-sponsored visa. So you can see the government of Australia, the system of Australia's immigration system is actually making people who actually acquire their qualification and experience in Australia much better compared to those one who actually gain offshore. Anyway, should you have more question or query, more than welcome to leave a comment right down below. And I'll see you next video. Goodbye.